Good afternoon. First, I want to thank Chairwoman Maloney for the invitation to testify. I'm sitting here today with the immense responsibility of representing the pain of millions of grieving family members. The only comfort that I have is that you also bear an incredible responsibility to find some way to work towards correcting this injustice. I raised 3 sons in the country outside of a tiny village in upstate New York, where the high school's graduating class is about 60 students. My boys grew up climbing trees, building forts, riding four-wheelers, playing sports, and having dinner at the table as a family. In 2002, my oldest son, Jeff, injured his knee in the first football game of his junior year. The doctor explained Jeff would miss the entire rest of his season, and if he wanted to wrestle that year, he would need to undergo major surgery, extensive physical therapy, and it would be very important to control his pain levels, which he would do by taking Oxycontin every 4 hours. Jeff did everything the doctors told him to do, and he did wrestle that year. He even made it to the state championships. He was such a determined kid. When he finished college, he got his own apartment, he had a job, he paid his own bills, and he stayed close to his family. In 2011, I got a call saying Jeff had been arrested. I met with the public defender, insisting Jeff must be innocent. He doesn't steal, he's a good kid, he has a job, and this doesn't make sense. A lot of things that heroin addicts do don't make sense, he replied. When I met with Jeff, through choking sobs, he said it was true. He had struggled with addiction in silence for 7 years, ever since that high school prescription. August 2014, Jeff was 22 months into recovery. I had stopped worrying. I worked on an assignment at Fort Meade, and I received a call from my son, Jason, telling me that Jeff had died of an overdose. My vivacious, caring, larger-than-life, family-loving Jeff was gone, and our family would never be whole again. I threw my grief into researching the overdose epidemic. I learned there were countless families with stories like ours, young people getting hooked on pills, either through prescriptions or recreation, and then moving on to heroin when they could no longer afford the pills. Stories of stints in and out of jail, and a gross lack of effective treatment, and grieving parents laden with guilt and pain. 6 months after losing Jeff, I founded Pharm. In 2015, the same year the Sacklers hit the Forbes list of the richest Americans. Pharm's name showed our intent to raise awareness of the pharmaceutical industry's role in the overdose epidemic, and a commitment that we would always tell the truth. Truth. In the 6 years since starting Pharm, another 396,000 lives have been lost to an overdose nationwide. My younger 2 sons have lost 6 classmates. Our county has lost 303 people, including a girl who was only 13 years old. Pharm has lost 3 of our volunteers to a fatal overdose: Renee, David, and Calvin. Calvin was just 25 and graduated with my youngest son, and I attended his memorial service just 1 week ago today. In that 6 years, my close friends and our organization's volunteers, Marcia, Michelle, Danielle, Diane, Corky, Shelley, Lori, Betsy, Ralph, Kathy, and Teresa have all lost a child. Katie, Alicia, and Jess have each lost a brother, and LaToya lost her mom. At this point, I've developed a crippling fear of phone calls. Each year, we memorialize lives lost to substance use through an event, the Trail of Truth, where hundreds of community members collectively grieve. And despite all experts saying addiction is a medical condition, countless individuals have wound up behind bars for the smallest quantity of drugs. 70% of the people we memorialize have been impacted by incarceration. The war on drugs has caused massive human loss and decimated communities of color. Gene, a black man from our town, was sentenced to 6 years behind bars for having 4 baggies of heroin in his pocket for personal use. This past weekend, we held a rally for a 22-year-old boy who died from medical neglect in jail. His original charge is criminal possession 7th, the lowest possible drug charge. In 2012, 259 million prescriptions were written for opioids, more than enough to give every American adult their own bottle of pills. But we've seen no intent to sell, no drug distribution, and no incarceration for the heads of that drug empire. Somehow they are free from the effects of the drug war. They walk away unscathed, even as they amassed wealth at the expense of lowering life expectancy for all adults in the United States, at the expense of taking my vibrant son from me, at the expense of hundreds of thousands of other families facing the same excruciating loss, even at the expense of creating a generation of children who will grow up without parents. Those of us who have lost loved ones will not even get a settlement to pay for the funerals of our children. While Jeff can't be returned to me, nor any of the other lives lost, what we can do is close the loophole that is allowing the Sacklers and others to profit from the death and destruction they have caused. And that is my sole request to you today. Thank you.